Okay, so now that we've been spending all this time graphing stuff, there's different parts of the graph that you have to be able to identify. And they are the X and the Y-intercept, and we got to figure it out. Oops. We have to figure it out from a graph, like I just said, a table, or a set of points. So what are the things we need to be able to figure out? Well, the first thing is the X-intercept. So that's going to be the point where Y is 0. So what does that mean? That means if we're looking at a point, it is written as number, comma, 0. So you're looking for 0 in the Y. If we're talking about a graph, it's where the graph crosses the x-axis. Okay, so that's what you're going to be looking for. For our y-intercept, now we're pretty familiar with y-intercept. That's going to be the point where x is 0. So in my coordinate, that's going to be 0, comma, number, because we know the first number is x and the second number is y. So when x is 0, that's got to be written first. In our graph, we know that's very familiar. That's where the graph crosses the y-axis. We've been identifying that for a couple weeks now. And the last one is the 0. 0 is just another way to say the x-intercept. So you're still looking for where y is 0. And when you write the 0, usually you're just writing the number. You don't have to put it in coordinates. But it could be written as number, comma, 0 still. So let's do some examples. So in all of these examples, we're supposed to be finding the x-intercept, y-intercept, and the 0. So we're going to do x-intercept first. Okay. Again, x-intercept, I'm looking for y to be 0. So what am I looking for? Number, comma, 0. So that's really what I'm looking for. 0 as the second number in these points. So I'm only looking at these to be 0. Do I see any of them that are 0? This one right here. So then this is my x-intercept. And I'm going to write 2, comma, 0. For my y-intercept, I'm looking for the x to be 0. So I'm going to erase those numbers carefully. There we go. And now I'm looking at the x numbers. I want one of these x numbers to be 0. So it should be 0, comma, number. So where was the 0 on this one right here? So that's going to be 0, comma, -4. And then for my 0, 0 the place, not 0 the number, it's the same as x, the same as the x-intercept. Okay, so what did I just write as my x-intercept? I wrote 2, comma, 0. So what is my 0? The number 2. You don't have to put it in parentheses when it's the 0. Okay? All right, let's look at it in a table. So in this table, I know it says time and speed, but really that first column is going to be your x, and the second column is going to be your y. Okay, so we're going to do x-intercept first. I am looking for y to be 0. So where do I look for 0 for x-intercept? I look in the y column for 0. That's where I want it to be. So I'm looking. This is not 0, not 0, not 0, no, no, yes. There's the 0 all the way at the bottom. So I'm going to write it in parentheses, 5, comma, 0. And that's my x-intercept. For the y-intercept, I'm looking for x to be 0. So I'm looking in the x column for a 0. Okay. And, oh, x is 0 right in the first one. 0. There it is. So I'm going to write 0, comma 49. I could put 49.0, but 49 and 49.0 are the same thing. And the last one, 0. 0, the place. We know it is the same as the X-intercept. So whatever number I just wrote for X-intercept, that's what I'm writing for 0. Same thing. It's 5. All right, last one. It's from a graph. So we're going to do X-intercept first. Now we said the X-intercept is where it crosses the X-axis. So it needs to be, where does the line cross here? Okay, well, what number does that happen at? Well, here's my graph. It's crossing right here. What number is that on? Oh, that's on -2. So we know it should be number, comma 0, so -2, comma 0. Okay. For my, let's erase that, get that out of our way. Okay, for my y-axis, I'm looking for the same thing, but I want to see, well, where does it cross the y-intercept? We should be very good at this point because we've been doing this. To write equations, you have to know what the y-intercept is. So I can see, where does it cross this line? Oh, that's going to happen right there. What number was that? It was at 3. How do I put that in parentheses? The 0 goes first, then the number. And then the last question, the 0. 0 the place, not 0 the number. It is the same as the X-intercept, so it's still going to be where it crossed the X-axis, and I just have to put the number. I don't have to put it in parentheses this time, so I just put -2. So go ahead and rewatch if you have any questions. Otherwise, start your practice.